in here. Oh, yeah. This meeting is being recorded. Oh, are they muted?
Make it today. And do the meeting there. All right. It was an echo. I don't need. Just fan. Mic check. Thank you. Oh. Okay, I think we're ready. Okay. So with that, first order of business, this is tab one of your board books, board members, are the minutes from our August 18th annual meeting of members or reorganizational meeting and regular meeting. Anybody have any questions? If not, take a motion. Motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that passes. All right, management report, Michael.
Okay. Pool's done. It's all been closed up. Well, we're just finishing we got some little bit of winter maintenance to do on it beforehand, but I want to thank everybody for a great summer. Didn't have, too many problems, little poop here and there, but that's, I guess, to be expected. So, but it was a good summer. I will be working with the pool committee, and we've been discussing on getting some more furniture, so we'll try to work that into this year's budget. Dock removal will be at the end of October as usual. Depending on the weather, if it's gonna get real cold, it may be a week or so before, but we'll notify everybody when we're getting close to that point. The golf course, I'm going out of what is your budget, sorry.
Okay.
The golf course fence should be installed this week. We did the dig safe markouts were done last week. So that's should be done within the next week or so. The pool launch gate for the lake is currently open. But somebody had backed into it, a contractor had backed into it when he was backing the trailer into the boat out. So it is bent, the whole gate has to be replaced. Jim is doing a rush on that, so we hope to have that next week sometime to be back in working order. The contractor will be paying for the damage that happened to the gate.
All right. All right.
I just have a question, suggestion. There's the way the cars are parked as you go in, that last parking space should be doing away with.
Okay.
That's part of the problem.
There was nobody in the parking lot.
No, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
Tell you what happened to me, last few days ago when I went to pull my boat out. There was another guy doing the same thing. And I had to go out again.
Need the clearance.
And so you really need to, I know that we need all the room we can, and
Okay.
but I think we should look into that because somebody's got, same thing, you hit the gate, you're gonna hit somebody.
Yeah, we need the clearance.
Okay. We can look at, we can put some chevrons on that parking space there. I think that'll help, but we can do that and see if that helps. You're just talking about the last one at the
The
bottom.
very last one, yeah, because stuff, if you got a little 16-foot boat, fine. You go into the 20s, that's a different story.
Okay. We had our dam inspection on Monday for Lake Louise Marie. Anthony and I met with the state. That all went fine. So that's all good. They commented that it's nice to come to a place that things are well maintained and you don't have issues. Good. The last thing is the compost area. That's been an ongoing discussion we've been having, so we just need to get that taken care of.
Can you tee that up a little more?
Yeah,
It's on our agenda, is a vote. Michael and I have talked about this, and I think a couple of others may have heard this as well, but one of you.
The compost area in the boat storage area back in there, or the storage area, the compost has gotten out of hand with contractors bringing the compost, well, it's just supposed to be leaves, but there's it's continuously they're dropping off brush and trees, leaves. You know, in the next few weeks, that'll be the compost area towards the end of the face of the compost area where we push the water out. Where we push the compost out, we're just running out of room. There isn't enough room there. We're getting into closer and closer to Davies Lake. So
So the thinking here is that while this has been a great benefit for members, their contractors shouldn't be using it. So for example, if you hire a landscaping company to handle your lawn, baked into that price should be removal of the leaves and whatever other waste is there. It shouldn't be on the property owners association have to deal with it. However, if you do your own stuff or you want to compost or whatever it is and you want to use that area, that should still be available for members as an amenity. It's just the contractors that I think we need to restrict because as Michael pointed out, we're out of room. And as the community continues to grow, that problem is going to get worse. So the suggestion from management and what we're putting up for discussion and vote is to restrict that area to members only, not their contractors. So in other words, you have to be the actual member with your card to get into that area.
What about your phone already? Like you're already having a problem there, so you don't have a bigger problem being with the members dropping, so why don't you just close it, you know? So when this was brought to the oversight committee, it just went round and robin. And I think at this point, we almost have to shut it because that was one of the things that was proposed. Because you have no way of controlling bad actors, and the bad actors are really bad actors. And I think we're gonna deal with the concerns from the community no matter what we do. I think at some point we need to be we need to be cautionary in keeping that open. That's I mean, we've talked about this multiple times. I'm just concerned about that contractor who comes in and dumps that impacts this person or this person who dumps leaves. The person who dumps leaves, I don't have a problem with them. But the problem is the problem. And so the only way to resolve it is by removing it, at least at this point, because I don't know no other way to say it.
So you're saying complete closure, and can I ask for?
Yes,
Chris, in those discussions with the oversight committee, were there folks who were sort of in favor of not a complete closure, but contractor only, and if so, what did they have to say?
I can pull the notes up. The issue was not about contractor only, it was the opposite, removing contractors. So if I'm cleaning up my yard, I have someplace to go. That's for me, I'm a resident, I pay dues here. Contractors, you have a problem, you need to take that someplace else. That place is not for you to fix a boat, right? That place is to park a boat, as well as I need to remove the debris out of my yard that's supposed to be there. So it was the opposite. It was contractors don't have a right to be there.
We're talking just about the compost area.
Yeah.
Right. Chris?
So, two, two things. One's a question, the other's a comment. The question would be about enforcement. So when I've seen this happening, I've seen contractors pull up to the office with the members' car. How would staff, you know, adjudicate that? And I also can think of a scenario where the member shows up with the contractor, presents their card, and then, I just, how can we, if we're gonna do this, how do we clarify, create a clear rule system to make staff enforcement easier? And secondly, and I'll admit I have a vested interest in this, I do my own use and I do use the compost lot. Our building code asks residents to do this, providing a compost area incentivizes good behavior by our members, right? It creates a place for members to follow that code and to get rid of their leaves. What we're doing is, if we close it fully, which I agree is the clearest rule, if we close it fully, we are adding a cost to our members to follow the rules. And I think that cost is going to fall hardest to people who don't already hire landscapers. It is levying effectively a surcharge on people to follow the rules that the association demands of its homeowners. I'm not sure it's an entirely fair thing to do.
So I'll say in closing, why this went round with Chris was spot on, because there's really no clear answer. And so we brought it back to the board and it just kind of set, because we don't, I think it's completely impossible for us to set the expectation for security to hold someone accountable. How do you enforce it?
So if you bring in, excuse me, if the owner comes in, this car, it's like going to the dump. You just, somebody checks. Do we want that responsibility to have?
I don't even know, can we?
Of course, it's good. If he only drops leaves is one thing, but with those leaves come everything else. That's what we gotta look for.
Cameras in that area to help with that. Lana?
I think the issue is an enforcement issue with staff, and Chris brought up the cost to members who don't have access to landscapers, but the cost to the overall community, because this year Michael is asking the board to consider renting machinery to then move the piles, and that is the cost to everybody, because as contractors come in mass, we then have to put big into the budget this year to rent the equipment more than once a year to do massive. So you're getting charged either way. It's whether you're or not, you're gonna have access to the compost piles.
So it sounds like there's no question we need to do something. And I might suggest that as at least a first step, close it to contractors with some clear guidelines around how staff in the office can enforce that. I.e., if the contractor comes in with them, even though the member has the ID, that's a no-go. It really has to be the individual member driving their own stuff back.
But the issues and leaves. So, but I think in addition to the leaves, it is people dumping stuff that's not supposed to be dumped over. That is my biggest fear. I think closing it for contractors, I have a lawn service.
But we have that risk right now, don't we? Because anybody can use it, dump whatever they want. That enforcement issue exists already. And I think we have cameras and we have the office monitoring who's back there. And we can control that.
So if we focus, so if we're gonna sort of do a narrower rule today on contractors, maybe rather than focusing on the who, we focus on the vehicle. But it's a prohibition on commercial vehicles, so it doesn't matter if the member shows up or if the person has the member's card. That limits, and that also makes enforcement simpler. Like Val can look out the window, see that there's a labeled commercial vehicle, and that's a no-go. That's also easy to enforce from a camera perspective.
But you still have the issue of the leak. So you're gonna do one rule now, and then next year, the year after, you're gonna have to do another rule because you're gonna be fucked up. So just pull the Band-Aid off and do it once and be done. So my ask is, give me the opportunity to go back to your side, come back with defined clear rules based off of this information. It'll be too late. Oh, yeah. They're gonna leave the drop it, so.
I think we ought to, obviously, there's some more working out we're gonna have to do with this. maybe it's a thing, something we ought to do for next year. I mean, it's fall right now, leaves are falling and, we'll just wait until workshop it through the fall and the winter, and then we'll have a definitive ruling.
Well, are we ever gonna have a perfect solution? I mean, are we letting perfect be the enemy of the good? By just punting it? Yeah, Chris?
Can I ask Michael, based on what you've seen on the cameras and just being in the office, looking at the pile of stuff back there, is to what extent are individual members contributing to this problem? Is it primarily a contractor issue, or are the residents' issues on their own? Is resident dumping back there on its own and going to continue?
Very few residents come back.
So
Mostly, it's mostly contractor. We have, a few that, are in here every week with their grass clippings, one. And then we have a few just in the spring and fall. But most of it is through.
All right, so I motion to close the compost area to dumping by any commercial vehicle,
I'll second that.
effective immediately.
Well, can I ask one question
Yeah.
before moving forward? That was two-part. I guess the question is, I 1,000% support that, but the other side of that coin is, what are the consequences? What's going to be? Because putting the motion and saying, yes, we can stop immediately, but what is the consequence that ties that? Because if the consequences aren't a deterrent, then what?
They can't get the key. Val has to give them the key. So if Val does a checkpoint, then I don't think that they need a consequence because they're not, I mean, I'm assuming that's what, right? That's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, if they get through, that's on us, right?
Okay.
Well, what you're saying is you wanted to bring it back to the oversight committee and come up with a final, this is it.
No, but I'll take this. This is fine, but I will commit, okay with the Chris, to take that.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I'll try to just a stopgap.
Yep,
for now.
yep. I second the motion.
Okay. Any other questions or issues with it? Okay. All in favor of the measure as Chris described it, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes.
Can we send out a formal notice via email?
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. All right.
Question?
Oh, hang on, we're gonna have a, point for member and homeowner questions in a little bit.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll write it down.
Okay. So, Michael, is that everything on the management?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now let's talk about this, building moratorium recommendation from the New York State Department of Health. Hopefully everyone has seen the, joint communication that Alan and I put out earlier in the week, that board members, tab 2 of your board book is a copy of that along with a copy of the UH's letter. So the Department of Health has recommended that no additional users be connected to the water system. That recommendation is to the water company and its board. They will do what they need to do in their process to adopt that recommendation. But I assume they will adopt it while they build the new required storage tank. For us on the Property Owners Association side, that impacts building permit, obviously, for everywhere within EGPOA. The water company tank issue is broader than just EGPOA, but for our purposes, we should adopt a resolution formally adopting that recommendation if that's what we're going to do. And I think that's the suggestion of management, suggestion of the water company. Certainly do have a choice, but it doesn't sound like much of a choice. I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity for the board to discuss it, but also to formally adopt a resolution that again, adopts that recommendation from the Department of Health. Do you have questions about it? Is that pretty clear?
What a company.
What are big hats? Okay. Mhm. Okay. So what I'm asking for is a motion to adopt the New York State Department of Health's recommendation, budget from earlier this week, which effectively requires a temporary, but indeterminate, building moratorium for EGPOA until the water company completes and puts into service the $650,000 gallon storage tank. Okay, so I'll make that motion.
So,
Great. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Abstain. The motion passes. Okay. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure, when Alan gives his update as well. All right, for our financial review, Joel.
okay, so, we've attached the company audited financial statements, reviewed them. And we made 1 or 2 changes, which are the deal. I'd like to be ordered improvements and finalizing, final copies out, so I'd like to have those, vote for that, so. Do I have a second on it?
Motion to approve.
Second, that's tab 3 board members of your board book, by the way. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, those are approved.
Going to the financials, there's a little work that has to get done. I just don't understand what they did with the 90 emeralds, to get that squared away, but we do that. We are over budget, so we're gonna have to deal with that and, see what happens there. There's also, this on the cash flow report, there's a 90,000 short of prior years, so that's gonna be open to our budget as well. So, if anybody has any questions, there you go. That's about it.
You say we're over budget, you don't have that submission as of yet?
Yeah,
Actually,
Oh, okay.
the detail review of what accounts went over and why.
Is this your variance report?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I'll go, okay,
last several pages. But
all right, I'll go through that one, so.
So, other than that, I propose that we approve the financials presented. Can I get a second?
good. Any questions or comments? Okay, I'll second approval of the financials. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, those pass. All right. Alan.
Morning, everybody. Couple of things, obviously, the tank is number one. Where we should, we're in the planning stage, we've been in the planning stage. The plans for the tank have been approved by engineering. Now it's just a matter of financing. With the Department of Health. Anything that goes on gets reviewed by the Public Service Commission. As far as, you're hearing crazy things, people are thinking as far as dollar wise. This is a loan that probably will be 20 years. And it's not just paid for by Emerald Green, it's all users in the water district. Like Louise Marie, Center for Discovery, Sombrero, it's covered by everything. So it'll be spread out. The tank would go behind the red house next to El Sombrero. It should take 6 months to a year, as the notice stated.
6 months to a year from today, tomorrow,
After,
Once they get the financing closed.
and
through the public service.
so we're talking about 18 months, 24 months?
To get through.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
The work with the Public Service Commission role should go fairly quickly because of the Department of Health letter.
And they've been aware of this project a
And
while.
as Alan stated, the engineering, we're 5 years ahead of the game. Because the engineering, the tank, everything has been done. We're up to the point where after our current rate case was finished, they were going in anyway to start looking for finances to get that project started.
So who's tasked with the responsibility of procuring financing? Us?
The
Water department?
water, that has nothing, of course, the Emerald Green residents are going to be impacted on their water bill somehow, some way. But as well as Emerald Green, all of the
Everybody,
users.
I think.
It's not, that the water company is gonna come to Emerald Green and ask them to, pay for it. That's, no, it's a separate company, so
Yeah,
it's.
I apologize. That wasn't my tone. I guess. Who has the skill set within the water department to procure financing?
Roberts.
Hmm?
Roberts is the bank.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah, so that's what he did. So,
We have been, which helps us now because the audited financials are finished. They have been presented to a couple of banks. We do have to get a couple of quotes from the banks to present to the commission, so we've already started working on that stuff, so.
And we are, of course, looking around, see if there are any grants, which would help.
I guess my only concern, and I don't really talk about this, I kind of leave this alone, is the sense of urgency of getting this done as relates to the impacts to the community. And having the right people in the right place, so it doesn't seem as if there's a lack of, that there's latency in getting it
No,
resolved.
absolutely.
That's all.
100%.
Okay.
And as the board, this board, adopted the resolution. There was an option not to put this into effect. The way to cure that would be to pour tons of chlorine into the
That's
water.
not enough.
That's not an option. So that's where we stand. We'll continue to give updates.
That was an important point. Thanks for
It's not
that.
Yeah, and another major point. The Department of Health said the water is totally safe, has always been totally safe. And this doesn't. So,
And building projects or permits that were approved before September 16th, which is the date of the letter, are fine. Those are sort of dual grandfathered in. This is new projects or new builds.
And a lot of those new builds have helped us up until this point because a new user pays a $4,000 capital fee that only can be used to upgrade the system. So that's what's taken care of the engineering and all of our work to this point.
Okay, so it's tipping point. Yeah.
Alan, can you just clarify this, because I know it's come up a lot? So I know you don't know this for sure, but what it's looking like is over a long period of time, homeowners will see something like they see like a surcharge in their bill on a monthly basis moving forward over a very long period of time shared by everybody.
20 years.
Oh,
20 to 30 years,
Yeah.
the commission likes as long as
Push it out.
possible.
Public Service Commission.
It was a smaller bit of money or spread out over.
It's, as Alan said, we are looking for grants. There are certain, because of this letter helps that along. So we are looking for grants through the state and through USDA. However, they're grants. People think when you get a grant, they write you a check the next day, and a grant could take 2 or 3 years before you receive a grant. So it would be used to reduce the debt of the.
It's not going to hold up the.
No, absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking, like, come on.
She's probably going to jump off a bridge.
While we're working on it,
What was the-
when do we think?
So the next 3 to 6 months, I guess.
Yeah, well, the finances isn't the issue. We have 2 banks that'll give us, it's getting through the commission. That's because there's a 90-day time period it has to sit for a little bit. So once we get the information into them, we'll get it. So our engineer, we use Delaware Engineering. They are working on getting bid specs put together and that part.
And with the Public Service, if this isn't like a regular rate case, this will go much quicker.
So with the financing that you're gonna get, are you gonna also, because I know you've been spending money for years on the engineering and all of that stuff. Huh?
Paid.
It's paid, but I'm saying when you do your financing, are you gonna draw that money down so that this way, the homeowners association can get back some money?
That would not.
I'm just, all I'm saying is.
We're way early in this.
Well, all I'm saying
Wait,
is, if the project is 2 million and you already spent 300 to 400,000, the loan should be 2,000,004 instead of just 2 million. That's all I'm
I
saying.
would have to. We would have to see, we got a whip going on, so we'll
Right,
have to see where that is, and that's all governed by the commission, that's. I could say yes right now, but they could
No,
say.
no, I just want everybody to be aware. Yeah,
Okay.
the money that they spent.
That's the cost of doing business.
All right, board member questions for Alan?
So, when is the Princeton Hydro final report going to be?
Good question. It's down to.
What is it?
I give it, it's 100% done? Okay, and so in that, did they prepare a setup for algae outbreaks, for harmful algae outbreaks, and what to do, so that you have an SOP on how to handle them as far as the water company and us as a community?
Their
We have had
more
and we're gonna keep that.
and just, keep ability to keep testing.
So I guess what he's asking is, tomorrow there's an algae bloom on the lake. What's our procedure? What do we do? Do we leave it alone and it just goes away? Do we call a vendor in and they treat it? They do, that's more.
Yeah, stuff we talked about.
Yeah, they were more leaving.
Okay.
So there is no SOP. It's either something that's documented in writing.
Okay, so
That can be.
This is
stored.
something that me and Rich and Joel have been talking about the last few weeks, and a lot of talk with DEC on this kind of stuff. We need to have an SOP in place. We have had documentation that we have had blue-green algae in our lake. It may happen again, most likely is gonna happen in like other lakes. So we need to have an action in place. So
For Emerald Green or for the water company, because the water company has action in place, how that's handled.
that's what I just asked. Is there a plan in place if we had an algae outbreak? Does the, if there's an.
Yeah, we have to send out every day to have the water tested. Our plant has worked well through the last 2 we've had, so it's
So
not.
we have an SOP in place then.
Yes,
But what about us as a lake? That maybe it doesn't affect the water, but affects the people.
that Emerald Green, as far as I know, it does not in mine.
So one of the things that we have discussed, this is the head of the Lakes Committee, but he's here. Was for some of the algae, they're floating algae and you can cordon them off like you can like an oil spill with a buoy. And if we do have a problem, potentially we get someone on board that is on call, so to speak. That if we had an outbreak, they can come in, they can test it, or already have the permits with DEC, they can bring in copper sulfate.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think this is something that Lakes Committee
Right.
should get. I mean, I had a meeting this week with
Yeah.
the Lakes Committee and twice this week, and none of this,
We didn't bring it up.
right,
This
so.
is the perfect transition. Anything else for Alan on the water company side? If none, thank you. Why don't we go to the committee reports and we'll start with Lakes, Joe?
So we've been very, very busy with the lakes. Tom, Rich, thank you. Brad, Marcy, thank you for doing the seaside testing.
meeting, by the way.
It was just that. It was nothing, it was wonderful. So,
No, we never, like me and Rich and Joel never met in person.
it was all.
I talked, we just kind of talked, when I went to DEC and they went and talked to Michael.
Right.
You know, stuff, there wasn't an informal, any kind of meeting at all.
It's hard to schedule things because if the road trip were coming, it's like, oh, I'll try to be there, So I didn't have a formal meeting, but I plan on having a formal meeting next week to let everybody know about what's going on. So, I'm gonna talk a little bit, but then I'm gonna turn it over to Rich, because he's like not so I am. Basically, we had two very nice women from the Catskills, what's the Catskills Center? Catskill Center, and they visited all three of our lakes and they tested some stuff. And we do have invasive species and there's issues relating to geese and moving these water chestnuts. So, but I'm gonna turn it over to Rich and go ahead, you're prepared to talk or you want me to continue to do?
In August, we discovered that we had use of amount of water chestnuts in Davies Lake. That provoked us to become aware that whether or not we had it in the other lakes, the two ladies from Catskill Center discovered different locations in all three lakes with 4 different invasive species. The problem with invasive species, there's nothing to get rid of them, but everybody in this room as an effort from the board. As a result, we came up with some formulation of ideas. One of the biggest problems we have is that invasive species get transferred from one lake to another, and the biggest offender is the geese. So we've been in touch with the USDA and the office, and we're creating a management program to take our geese and transplant them elsewhere. And in fact, we are also identifying other sources to remove the vegetation that has to come out. This will be an ongoing process. And the Lakes Committee will have a meeting with the Lakes people, telling them what we found and coming up with an educational plan for them and an action plan. But you all could set a meeting on it, and we've identified what we can and can't do effectively.
Michael, anything to add?
Thank you for your time this week, guys. It was very good.
And thanks for all the volunteers on it. Anything else on lakes or pool? Yeah, just.
Yeah, we didn't have anything on the pool to close down, but had the season, we'll be looking to make some improvements at the pool next year, but we'll incorporate that into the budget. Share everything with everybody. That's about it.
All right, there was no bylaws meeting, or strategic planning and finance meeting that Chris and I were just talking, before we began this meeting. We're coming out of the week a little bit work-wise, so strategic planning and finance will try to get on the calendar the next couple of weeks. All right, Earl, you had an oversight meeting on the 7th?
Yeah, we had one. There was no topics to discuss. I think there was only one primary concern. That was the board's disposition on this project that's on Treasure Lake that's forthcoming, the 60 units. And let them know that we're internally looking at an engineering firm to come in and kind of provide us an insight. But there was no action items, with the exception of Ms. Ellen. We'll do something about her. Yeah, I already told them again, so.
Okay. All right, anything from events for welcoming?
Yeah. A big thank you to Jose De Jesus, who's in the building today. He led a hike around the Greenway yesterday. We had about 20 members join us. Because the interest, we're going to run a couple of more events through the fall. There was resounding feedback from the people who participated in the event, not to mess with the beauty of the gift of the natural green space. So I think the thinking moving forward, especially with strategic planning, is to leave as is, and just add to maybe with some subtle things. The group was definitely interested in highlighting the seasonal benefits of the Greenway. So we're going to look into maybe doing a snowshoeing event in the winter, and then possibly doing maybe like a mindful labyrinth in one of the kind of pause spaces. But Jose has definitely been very much a part of that ongoing discussion. So big thank you to you. Things don't happen without volunteers. So thank you to Joe. Continuing on with that, Jose is really taking charge of the Halloween events. I know there's been a little bit of a pause in kind of that communication, but I think we're going to, Jose is going to work directly with events kind of to get that going through. And then I will also be sending out in the next couple of weeks the map for trick or treating. We do that every year so people know where to go. Book Club is having a meeting today at the pool for the last time at the pool house at 1 o'clock for their book. Take only, I don't remember the name of the book, but they're meeting today. And fitness classes are now moving to the Monday cardio classes with the Saturday yoga moving forward. And our official first meeting for the new group of events committee will happen in October. Please look out for a notice of that.
One thing before Earl goes, Jose shared with some of us yesterday in management that there is continued ATV riding and somebody with like a small dirt bike moped on the Greenway. That can't happen. We'll send out another notice and we're going to try to see if we can identify who those folks were. If they're EGPOA members, they will be getting fined. We're past the period of warning people about this. And I'm not sure, was the sheriff's office called? Was the sheriff's office called?
No, I didn't want to tie them up on this one. And Michael was aware right away.
Okay.
Earl, we got the cameras up on it.
Oh, we got camera. Joe's got some video that worked out pretty well because you couldn't see who it is. So I
One of the
don't
kids.
know who it is, but I'm sure Brittany and Valerie have figured.
The fencing is going in this week too. Based on determined factor.
Yeah, we'll send out.
If you see the video, if the rest of the board, if you could share with the rest of the board, you'll see that the biker never slowed down, full speed, straight towards me. And I just, this time stepped aside, so he was a young teenager. I think he was young enough to probably hit me. And I watched him just go right by, like waiting.
Oh, also, homeowners who are interested in hiking right now, the greenway, it is freshly brush hogged. So if you want to go there, it's a great time to go right now because it is definitely maintained at this point.
My only question is the green, do we have signage?
That's the plan. That is, this group is getting together. There's interest in we've walked through some of the spots where people dump. The group is really interested in cleaning up some of those areas. Jose wants to mark out the path. That's one thing that we've talked about. Those are all things that will happen over time.
Yeah, because we put like signage by the front, by back here, just, yeah, it's cool. All right.
All right, I just sent a video to the rest of the board members, so see what I was talking about. All right, anything else on events and welcoming? Any questions?
No.
Thank you all for all your hard work there and to all the volunteers of that committee and all the committees. All right, we are to the point where we can have member homeowner question and comments, and Takima on Zoom, you were first. If you still have anything for us, please feel free to unmute. And if not, we'll come back to you. Don't worry. If you're on Zoom and you have any questions or comments, do use the raise hand feature. Otherwise, we'll start in the room. Yeah, and we'll start with Rich. Rich, if you can come up to you.
I'm curious if you've assigned committee members, official committee members to each committee so that the Lakes Committee knows who to contact and communicate with. I also have a question regarding the Aesthetics Committee. Will they be involved? And whether or not signage that is appearing in the community, political signage, trailers that are being parked and stored in driveways are appropriate.
Okay. Trailers, I think not appropriate.
Not appropriate.
Please report them. Political signs, same thing. Not appropriate.
You
I'll take that out. I'll take that out.
Political signs are the only one you can't do.
10.
Can't.
Okay, so.
Can't.
Sealing your driveway, yeah. Political sign, you can't go there.
Okay.
That's a lot of.
There's the answer.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll have mine up.
You're on a dead end.
That was for me. It's okay.
I will. Sorry, Rich, what were the other, committee members? Did we send out that?
Yeah, we office sent out signups a while back. I will communicate with committee chairs about new members, but as you probably recall from the August reorganizational meeting, we voted simply to continue existing committees and memberships, so you can continue to use the email list you got. I will email chairs this week with any updated from any new signups, so you can communicate with those members as well. Does that sound okay?
Thank you, sir.
Aesthetics was the other.
We don't have this.
It's under oversight.
It's under, oh, it is? Okay, all right, didn't know that. I'm sorry, I dropped the ball.
And what was the question about it?
What about?
No, I just want to know if there was a committee.
Yeah, aesthetics come to Mr. Science. Yes, I'm sorry, dropped the ball. Totally did not.
Yeah. Okay. Come on up, introduce yourself.
My name is Martin Lerner, and my wife and I, young Lerner, came to your border property here on 48 Pebble Path 2 months ago. And we had a beautiful welcome. We thank you. It's just, we've been very happy. I had a couple of things. I went with Jose led a beautiful trek through the Greenway, and a lot of my, we live right by the golf course, we never knew how to go through, and thank you for that. And my question is this, 2 questions. On the Greenway, there's a New York State, there's a whole reforesting program. I think it's New York State Tax 480, where you can get a tax abatement if you have 50 contiguous acres, and you can get an 80% tax abatement. I don't know what applies.
By how many acres?
We don't pay tax.
We don't pay tax.
We don't pay
We don't pay
taxes.
tax. Okay. Okay, so.
But I like to think.
Thank you.
Keep them coming.
But I think that you know, we were just discussing it, it's such a beautiful, special place and the trees are growing in it. It can be reforested. I think it reforested, keeping, you know, non-invasive trails for, you know, cross-country skiing and what have you. I think it'll increase the property and I hope it never gets developed.
Yeah, well, it won't. It is protected and that has been the goal since we really formally adopted it as the Greenway
Okay.
in the last 6-9 months or so. We were, funds permitting, we'd like to hire a landscape architect in the future who can help us sort of plan that
Right.
whole preservation piece out correctly.
Yeah.
But for now, we're relying completely on volunteer power. And the plan is really just to clear trails for walking and snowshoeing and all that sort of stuff. Maybe some light exercise stations in the future, again, as money permits. But really just to keep it kind of as is and preserved. Absolutely no development, never, ever, ever, ever. And it's an amenity forever for the members. So hopefully that boosts property values.
Okay, and I'm a volunteer as best I can.
Fantastic.
Find out, but thank you. And then one other question. The kids are speeding. And I walk the dog, we're seniors and even not seniors, they're just speeding. You have people, everybody is just coming through and my understanding these, I don't know, we're new to the area, they're like private roads. And
They're town roads.
They're public.
Okay, public roads, and then I don't know the expense, but I know that I just call them speed trackers, I don't know, where they just flash. If you're going over and they just flash, is that something, they're not even, no speeding signs, I know this speed bumps are expensive, but
we can't-
this is just an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah,
Because you got by the pools, you've got babies and carriages, and people are coming by, I mean, God, that's.
Yeah, it's something that folks have been concerned about for quite some time. It's definitely not a new issue. The speed bumps are not doable. We understand from the town because
Yeah.
they can't plow in the winter time.
Right.
I'm not sure about the other suggestions, but we have to coordinate it with the town.
They have those
Yeah,
lights and you pass by and they start flashing if you're going too fast.
They have one of those installed on like Louis Murray Road.
Yeah,
The town had one of them installed on the Louis Murray.
No, that was the
that'd be personal. That'd be
sheriff's
personal.
department was doing, writing tickets for everybody. That was what.
I mean,
that was
I
for.
think-
I mean, I
From when I pulled, and you see, the sheriff's, I was with the sheriff and they mentioned that everyone was complaining about 70 miles an hour and this and that. It wasn't that, but they did confirm that the average speed was close to 50 on Lake Louise, on certain roads. So they are breaking law with.
I totally agree with you. I think for this body, though, it's not, I hate to say not much we can do about it, but we can urge the town to continue, or not, I guess the sheriff's office to
What?
continue.
If possible, if this board does, or Mike, just reaching out to the highway and see if they're willing to put up signs. Some years ago, they put up signs for me when the children were stopping on Club Lane for the bus, bus stop, and they put the signs up right away within about a week. They had signs up, so those signs that are there were put up because of, a Club Lane complaining about people speeding.
Okay, we'll ask Michael to, and I'll help him, to meet with town officials to see what we can do.
If you look on, Wolf Lake, there's not a sign. There's only one, I think someone in a building, that's it for the entire.
Sign, and that's a great point. And even with the Greenway, or, with the ATV, you could have just signs, simple signs saying no trespassing.
I think that we have those, or those are coming very shortly, and you'll be going up with the fencing.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I don't think anything, you can ask. You can go ahead.
What about Frisbee? Is that okay?
yeah, go ahead.
Like about.
Sure, yes, please do. Close to the,
I have a few questions and a few comments, and just on Mr. Lerner's comment, I've seen removable speed bumps, like heavy rubber strips that could,
I talked to Bill Reaver about the exact same thing.
yeah.
I volunteered to pay for it,
Yeah.
install it, remove it in
Oh.
October, and he said,
He said no. Okay, so it seemed like a really good idea. All right, so a bunch of questions and then, not a bunch, a couple, and then a comment. So the 650,000 gallon storage tank, Is there an estimate of the number of homes or people that that serves?
Right now, we have 1,003 customers.
1,003, but is that built for future?
Well, that,
capacity?
yes, that is built for future because when we're engineered, it has to take in consideration for the paper lots as
Wow, okay. Is there a limit to the number of homes? Is it 1,003 homes, right? Not individual. Is there a limit to the number that this lake will be able to provide water for?
right now, we take about 260,000 gallons of water a day out. You can, the permit to withdraw and the restrictions on it is somebody can pull 850,000 gallons of water a day.
Okay, so that is a limited effect, that if it gets to that point, no other users could be.
Well, that's all they can pull out of there. So that's why it's always beneficial for everyone. Control.
850,000 gallons. Thank you, thank you. Okay, who's on the water board? Alan, I know.
Defer to Ellen to give you the roster.
Wait, who else? Oh, Alex, okay. Who?
Bob Ernst.
Bob Ernst, okay.
Chris Douglas.
And Zach.
And Zach. Okay, thank you. All right. Are the water company financials available to view
They're included in the audit.
in the audit?
Audit.
And is the $250,000 received from Center for Discovery for sale of equity? It's included in that,
In the water.
in the water companies.
They
Got it.
used it to pay off the loan.
Okay. And then about the lake. So I was one of the people who was trained to do the CSLAP stuff. And we learned a lot from the DEC. And one of the things we learned, which I think is super important for everybody to know, is that a lake that has 25% development in its entire watershed is able to self-renew. As that development increases, bless you, and more, the lake is not able to renew itself anymore and can over time become just a sludge pond. So I think we need to be aware of it. We need to be mindful of it. We need to do what we can to protect the gem of our community and our drinking water, and know that right now we are probably close to 3 times what the lake is able to self-renew, and building seems to just be going on endlessly. Also, I'm sure you guys know, but I'm just going to bring it up. There are drainage ditches from Route 17 that pour right directly into our lake, with all of the oils and the things that come off trucks and the road treatments and all that stuff, multiples. And I counted 175, and there are more drainage pipes coming into the lake. Some are just people's gutters, but some are roadways that drain. So these are huge concerns for water quality and maintaining the lake. And I think one small step we could take, because this is a giant problem, is to send notice to landscapers and to homeowners, because what I learned was, and this man knows better than anyone, nitrogen and phosphorus in fertilizers and some of the things that people spray to prevent bugs or other things drain directly into the lake, have huge impact on the lake, and contribute to the toxic algae and some of the other overgrowth.
I would just add that the Lakes Committee put that communication together so that it's technically accurate.
All
We
right.
met with the town and sewer department and discussed that very matter.
Okay.
And it's part of our education program.
Okay, so we're on the Lakes Committee. We'd like to be included in all of that.
Well, it was just came up.
Okay.
We'll fill you all in.
Got it. Thank you. All right, that's it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Marcy. Let's go to the Zoom. Donna, you're first.
Thank you. First, I just wanted to say, as regards the speeding issue, I was going past Lake Louise Marie Pool, and a police officer stopped me. I couldn't believe it. And he said that he said, "Do you know how fast you're going?" I was going 44 miles per hour. Not exactly a race car speed. And he said, people in the area have been complaining the speed limit is 30. And he was specifically sent there to monitor that. So maybe we should ask in the fall, I don't know how Lake Louise Marie was able to get some police officer there, but maybe we should try to get that again, and it will kind of deter speeding. But the real reason I raised my hand is every fall we have the fall cleanup. And I don't know if Alana set up a date yet, but maybe we should have two parts of it, one to clean the greenway and one to do the rest of the community, because there's always along Old Sackett Road terrible dumping.
Yeah, and there's a lot of commercial waste in that area too that I think we talked about that at our last meeting, but I just for life, we can't remember what our resolution was.
If you're waiting on that,
See a lot more.
it's also gonna, waiting on Pennsylvania chemists, that, I think the dumping there also is gonna require some expenditure. I don't think that
Yeah,
that
refrigerators and
yeah.
stuff like
So
that.
I think we need to we will, events can work with management to figure out what the potential cost will be. I think it's also gonna be enough money where it's gonna require a board vote, but that's just not something that even 100 well-intentioned volunteers could easily and safely take care of, but we'll work on it.
All right, thanks, Donna. We go to Mark Becker.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to ask a really quick question. It's probably a yes or no. Put something to rest I've heard in the rumor mill, so I can come to the board for an exact answer. People have been saying things to me like when the land was sold to the Center of Discovery, that they had agreed to pay for a part of the water tower. Is this true?
The answer is no.
No,
And I appreciate you coming to clear up rumors because that's obviously an ongoing difficult problem, particularly with that, whatever that Facebook thing is.
anything else, Mark?
No, that's it. I just wanted to come to the source.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you, Mark.
thank you.
Yeah,
Lou Sherman, on the money you're getting for the engineer's report, the engineer's report was completed, but that was, I assume was for the smaller tank. You're gonna have a tank up there that's much, much heavier than was supposed to be engineered for.
No, this is a new engineer. We've only been working on this for 5 years, so.
Right.
You're right, so.
But whatever engineer, they are going to take into account larger size tank.
it's engineered.
Engineered.
Bigger tank.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The other question is, it's a storage tank.
Sure.
So I assume there's gonna be 1 or 2 pipes going from the lake, from the plant or
From the
lake water. That water's gonna sit there or is gonna be circulating back into the system?
It'll circulate back into the system.
Okay,
The new water will go into that and it just.
okay, that was, thank you. And one other thing to the new people, these speed signs that blink, we had this discussion years ago, and very few people wanted to have that sign and planted on their property right on the road. You know, and that was one reason I guess. So the other thing is, I don't mind doing it, but I think maybe we should talk to the organization. The number of small deer crossing the roads in the morning and the evening in the first aid station, and then once you make the right turn into our property, it's amazing. Does it cost anything to put a sign of deer crossing or something? Nobody will look at it.
I think that's fair.
The standing yells, what are you doing?
No, I want you to go there every morning and with a sign and it's like a crossing.
There are people in this community who go like this. Zoom right by them and look at.
Exactly.
We could list a hundred.
It's gonna go really, really left.
Once again, I'm.
Yeah, when I speak to, Superintendent, Benjamin about the other sides, I'll talk.
Well, they do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll be opening a sign business for anybody. All right, Stephen online and then Mr. Sharp will come back to you. Stephen online, your hand is up, if you unmute.
Hi there,
Good morning, everyone. I had a question on Treasure Lake. I know the whole issue that went on with Treasure Lake and the low water level, and that's hopefully all behind us and just gonna have to fill in over the course of the spring. But what about because it was so low all year round, you have all this growth that's now going on there. Is there actually disappear and die over the winter, or is there a plan to get it back to where it was?
So Stephen, we lost you at first. You were breaking up. We lost you when you stated Treasure Lake. We know that the water levels have been low, but we lost you from there.
Okay, so sorry. So the water level was low all year. It developed all this growth around the rim of the water, the edge of the lake. Will that now naturally just die off over the winter? Or is there a plan in place to now clean it up and get it back to where it was?
That's what we're hoping, that when the water level will increase, it'll kill the vegetation. And we're gonna have to see what happens in May and June,
Right?
so.
Because we can't treat it.
And if it doesn't naturally die off and the water level comes back and we have all this growth, is it going to be removed, or is it just going to be there for us to contend with now?
Right?
No, he's answering. We were just had a
We
meeting.
had that discussion, we're hoping that when the water level increases, that it'll choke off the plants and the plants will die and decompose. We won't know officially until like May or June, so, we'll have to deal with it then, but that's what the plan is right now. We're not gonna be lowering the lake again, we're gonna let the lake fill up naturally, and hopefully it'll take care of itself.
And if it doesn't,
We'll have to cross that bridge when we get there.
okay, but there would be a plan to address it, or
Yes, definitely. And we all appreciate the value of our lakes, because we've been talking about doing a plan for Davies Lake to get that cleaned up. So we're dealing with it. We'll do it.
right? Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, raise your hand. Stucker.
Mr. Tucker?
Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
This is historic for me. The first time I've had to come back to a board meeting within 10 years, in a couple of months.
And the second time we forgot your key. And the second time we forgot your key.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah. Because I had to run in there to let you in.
You don't need the exercise. You should have sent the chubby one in. Excuse the glasses. It's too bright here. I had my boiler service and my electric hot water tank service. They were full of sand and sediment within a year. Also, my water pressure is not where it should be. It is terrible. So I didn't hear everything about the water levels and everything, forgive me. But somebody has got to prioritize and get this done. If you have to put a water pressure tank in my garage, do it.
We'll take that for the water company and the management of the water company.
Because there's ladies here, I can't tell you the amount of foam coming out of the shower head as when.
Keep it on track, keep it on track.
Keep it in my track.
Thank you.
So.
That meeting is next week.
Oh, Jesus.
The water company,
Okay,
next Sunday at 9 AM.
Gotta be there. Make sure you're there.
the next thing,
But all those things that, with the tank and all that, that will help improve your flow.
yeah, I hope I'm still on the planet by the time that happens. The golf course. I know we bought it to protect it, but we've made that dirt bike heaven.
We're trying to control that.
I found a special deal on used landmines.
plastic gloves, and there'll be no fingerprints. Collateral damage, I'm sorry, let God worry about it. Now, is there anything that can be done short term, serious, to increase the water pressure on Piccadilly? Because we just had 2 more houses open with families. And 1, 2, 3 more are gonna come online probably this month. It's so popular to live next to me. It's unbelievable. But it is really not correct.
I hear you. But again, it's a water company issue, so I'm gonna refer to Ellen and to Michael again.
The last thing, and someone mentioned Benjamin before. Mr. Benjamin, the highway super. But he thinks we're living in the feudal system. Where the serfs, and he does things when he wants, if he wants. I have pictures when the last new house was built last spring, this summer on Piccadilly Court. Someone gave the contract the wrong location of the sewer line and the water line. And they dug up the entire Piccadilly Court. Then they hired an outside contractor, not the town of Thompson, and they backfilled the piping in, and they covered it up with some stone, and then they put some macadam down, and when you drive, you're like riding on the ocean. It's not level, it's not anywhere within acceptable tolerances for a highway.
There's speed bumps.
Yeah, it's right. I try to sleep when I drive there and you're waking me up. Someone has to contact of authority, this board. The Thompson Highway Department. Not at their convenience, at your convenience. To come up there and put a level coating on that courtyard.
All right, we'll make that ask. We will make that ask. We will do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I appreciate all the work you've done. I'm sorry that I have to come here and fetch complaint.
It's fine. You're always welcome.
As I get older, I get meaner.
You get funnier.
And I used to be a sweet guy, believe me. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any other questions online or in the room? Jose?
I just wanted to say, thank you to this board for everything that's, going on there. Especially Chris for taking time out to take a hike with me and go through some things. And then obviously around yesterday with her family, and she got up early in the morning to go get breakfast for the group, and then bringing her children out and her husband, to hike with us. So I also wanted to come out to the board that the next events coming up, I'm hoping that some of you would be able to come out also and meet a lot of the new homeowners who actually signed on, who have not, interacted in the past weeks, so this was nice to see that. So again, great, right? Seeing you there. With that said, it was nice to hear from so many of the homeowners there on the keeping the golf course or the greenway natural. I after yesterday thought that was amazing. It was an eye opener to walk in and listen to them and say, yeah, you know what, we could really see once just leaving it the way it is. So some of the things that came up was like sell a tree or buy a tree, or buy a bench and things like that to raise money for future things. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Again, one thing for some reason I couldn't remember is what committee covers the Greenway again?
Strategic planning and committee.
Okay, do we have a subcommittee on it?
No.
Some of the homeowners were, the individuals that were hiking yesterday about the idea of the club possibly becoming a subcommittee. That could come back because we're all volunteers and everyone is on board to, get involved with some meetings and maybe come back with some suggestions to the board, because like Chris stated, one of the things that the board has talked about is possibly coming up with names for the trails, blazing the trails, mapping it, so we can have a map for the community.
Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
So then, because I would like for Leonard possibly, we'll send out an email to the individuals who were involved yesterday to start with. And then move forward there and also consider them like a subcommittee that can come back to the board on something.
Absolutely.
Great.
It's great.
All right, and just wanted to throw that out. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
And on behalf of all the homeowners.
Cool. Thanks very much. Other question?
May
Marcy?
may I ask you a quick question? This is Scott Goldberg.
Oh, hey, Scott. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Just a quick question. Michael, you had mentioned that the water company sends out about 246,000 gallons of water a day. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And in the summer, though, I imagine there are periods where it's higher than that.
No, that's the height.
That's the number, max number. So let me ask you, of that 246 that gets sent out, how much of that actually ends up in each customer? In other words, how much is lost?
What's that? No, I wish it was 15%. You were probably trying to get in the system right now, actually, as we were, Mr. Tucker was talking to see what his pressure was in his house. We're probably still up there like 40%.
Right. So my concern is this. Obviously, we need to put this tank in, and that's a meeting that's going to take place, I think, next week. You're going to be discussing that, correct, in more detail?
Yeah, and thank you for that reminder, just so folks know, especially if you're hanging around online, next Sunday, the 29th at 9 a.m. Alan will be hosting Alan and the water people will be hosting a town hall here to talk about the tank issue in that project.
Okay, so we're producing 250,000 gallons of water every day that we're sending out. It doesn't seem to vary much between times when Emerald Green is more busy and less busy. That's because potentially 100,000 gallons are just disappearing into the ground because of infrastructure that needs potentially to be repaired. If that was repaired, wouldn't that help us tremendously in terms of new homes that need to connect to the system that now are subject to this moratorium?
There's also in the plan for the upgrade, there are some pressure reducers and meters being put in, so we'll be able to meter our mains to see which direction we may be losing water in. You can't fix something that you don't know where it is.
Right. No, I know this is a long-term problem. That's why I asked the question. I kind of knew the answer before I answered. I know it was 40%. I didn't realize it was actually that high. But it should upset all of us that there are people in this community who bought.
That also includes our backwashing. So it's a figure that I would have to really drill down on. But since you asked the question, it'll be fresh in my mind, so I make sure I have it drilled down for you.
Thank you. And it upsets me on a personal level. It doesn't affect me personally, but I know people who have purchased property in Emerald Green over the last year or two who are engaged with architects and want to build and develop their property. And now, due to this moratorium, who knows? It could be 2 years, 3 years. It doesn't sound like it's going to be less than 2 years until they can build. And that just I don't know what should be done to accommodate those people. That's all. It just doesn't seem right. And they're paying their full dues for their lot that has access, but they can't develop their property. That doesn't seem right. Not to mention that they've engaged architects and spent other considerable sums. I think the board should think about that.
Yeah, they pay 25%.
Well, no, he may be talking about folks who've elected.
If they elected, then that's a different thing. That's a different story. So I'm saying for the regular people.
I would recommend that as in anybody that's building a home, that they should get a hold of the office, let us know what's going on with it, and we could, maybe discuss it further and the best path for them to take.
Okay, thank you, Michael. That's great. Okay. All right. I'll be on the meeting hopefully next Sunday. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you so much for all your time and effort. I know it's not, I know we're all busy.
Thanks. Marcy?
So I wanted to just say, Jose, you had such great ideas and I'd love to be part of that. We have a lot of faith in the community and into back there, and I don't have any thoughts and answers other than letting people know.
Just, they're more scared of you than you are, and I'm so.
Except if you have food or except
Yes.
there's,
Part of the reason the hike started was because Jose mentioned that he walked the course and people said they were interested but afraid to go alone, which is why the group existed.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's great.
So I'd love to see that. Next one coming up.
Marcy, just start talking to the bear and he'll take off pretty quickly. That's okay, I can show you a video once sitting out on my front porch and I had to go out and yell at him and he took off.
All right, our next meeting, I goofed on the agenda. It says the annual meeting. It's a regular meeting. Sorry, guys. It will be October 20th, 2024, at 9 a.m. So with that, thank everybody for coming, and ask board members to hang around. We're going to go into executive session. So folks online, if you'll kindly log off, I'm going to stop the recording. We don't have anyone on.